Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Harshit Sampat, and this is my presentation for Portfolio and Communication 2021. A presentation about trickery and fraud, about lies. Tell it by a fireside, or in a movie, or in a marketplace. Almost any story is almost certainly some kind of lie. But no, not this time. I promise. During the next hour, everything you'll hear from me is true and based on solid facts. Let's start our journey with a mind map that includes all my discussions that I had at RMIT over the past 3 years. It includes references whether architectural or something out of it bounds. It is domain of all my thoughts, concerns, and questions that I tend to answer with all my upcoming projects. Rendering all this found information into a believable architecture, the one that answers all the questions that occurred above with care and concern. Through understanding the monologue, provided there are certain things to be taken forward. Architects' primary concern is often the built environment, leading to ignored notions and one's experience of getting involved with it. In this domain, architecture is said to be recognized by attentive sensibility of individual observers, which can and will vary widely. Architecture, with my understanding, is a built realization of concepts, concerns, and ideas. Thus, in my dream world, every built form is something that holds reference to any named or found deeper form of order. To understand my project with clarity, I've divided my folio in 6 chapters, starting from chapter 1, that is character study. Chapter 1, Character Study. The idea of this chapter comes from my interest in cinematography and extracting inspirations from them. Movies and cinema are a big part of our life. It grabs our attention and places ourselves within the story. A story based on audio and visuals translates as emotions and feelings. It makes sure that we escape from our daily routine, which is necessary for everyone. These feelings and emotions, when translated into architecture, gives us great results and more meaning to the built environment. My interest in cinematography started under Peter Knight in his studio Birds, where films, documentaries, plays became the starting point of my project to determine a suitable atmosphere for the project. The one that holds narrative as its deeper form and builds up interest that is very motivation with any project. This form of art does not need to be specific or subjected to the individual. It should rather be a tool to start setting up a vibe or a mood for our project. This chapter mainly includes the study of characters, the lifestyle, the setting that they are placed in, and obviously the narrative. One of the examples of these studies is from the movie Parasite, where I chose the father, Mr. Kim Ki-take, belonging from a lower class working family in Korea. The family gets themselves involved in a rat race of chasing money and a lavish life. With poor structure of the life, set up in a slum, withholding an impossible structure, the bunker on the top, shows how poor the structure is even though there is a realization of the life being separated from the low life, flood prone slum. It's far from real. The bunker itself embraces the lawn from the movie, showing a lavish and settled life, only to put us off the fact that there are no entries or exit to the house, no windows. Trapped in this bunker is devastating, but so were Kim Kitake's action. After committing a murder at the end of the movie, he was literally trapped with no future or lavish life achieved. The next chapter is Site. The aim of this chapter is to gather all the hidden gems of the site or the context. This includes everything from its surrounding, its culture, or its making. This happens to be a great time to tie a character study into the site, to pull it into reality, as everyone would say. Way to keep ourselves and our project intact in a narrative in an interesting journey. The research part of this, or identifying little spots on our site, is important and of my interest. This could be from a random weed growing on a curb, preventing rainwater to seep into the gutter, or the only electric pole that is crooked. One of the best articles that I came across for this is Homebody by Kelly Pendergast, who wrote it under lockdown. There are multiple ways of documenting these ideas. It could be done through creating a folio of all collected information, a collection of drawings, or a short film. This short film is about Carlton. It was shot under lockdown. The things that one notices when there's no queue for coffee, no boys skating at the curb, or no couples holding down the street changes. We start to notice things that are usually lost within our existence. It has become very common for everyone to appreciate things around us as we went deeper into lockdown. Taking responsibilities to make sure our architecture responds or embraces these lost parts around us is what answers our concerns and interests. This short film tries to capture the lost and found that will hold our project. History, a chapter that entails. We all know moments from history or lifetime that are no longer, and even forms and action that appear with infinite strength that end up melting into the air. This chapter is set out to recognize the past, it be from first slum in Carlton or the brick wall that was collapsed in Brunswick. The conversational history or the one that made headlines in local newspaper. This is a time to remind the people of the city something that they were proud of or something that they couldn't stop chit-chatting for years. Reconstructing or resurrecting these past narratives that is now lost is what my architecture intends to achieve. Or the time when Brunswick community turned an empty site into a junkyard. The remnants are used to develop a new living for the fellow landowner. Very brutal, but that's what happened earlier. Standing tall and straight is now his new living space, where all the spaces are described with the help of objects and persons belonging. Like in this project, the slum community were not allowed to loiter around. They created a mess out of the old Carlton, as read in newspapers, but they had their own reasons and situations. Recreating the lifestyle and the impact of how slums were destroyed for the settlements of immigrants is what is tried to be achieved here. It's a recital that gives birth to the past and fills in the gap for the present community to grasp. Moving on to chapter 4. Uncertainties. Uncertainties plays a major part within us and everything around. They shape one human and break some. Trying to undertake uncertainties as a study and discovering the scars of a site, robbery near the site, unfortunate murder under weird circumstances, a car crash, a fractured pipe, and the list goes on. So long that it's hard to look past. Uncertainties and architecture are not incompatible. Architecture is uncertain, uncertain is architecture. To reshape the uncertain is turning ruins and battered remnants into a new kind of architecture, something that the people of the city easily recognize or become proud of. The energy that was lost in all the activities is meant to be translated into our project, and literally, the walls would hold more narrative than the woman in your neighborhood. Like in this case, an offensive architecture which even some trials couldn't be accepted by the community ended being blown up just to build new housing for the owner. The remnants from the explosion became the new typology and a decisive way to program the household. Using Lebbeus woods as inspiration, the new house developed holes, an apologetic part of the old house, but reinvents and repurposes them into new living, which also proves to be sustainable and adds to the factor of flexibility as a design. Chapter 5, Conspiring. Picasso once said, "Art is a lie that makes us realize the truth." And that's our intention with this chapter. With all the truth collected so far, that is incomplete, doesn't answer all our questions, it keeps us wondering. But with the privilege of architecture, we can attempt to weave the missing parts, fill in the blanks. All this creates a conspiracy, one that can't be proven right or wrong, the one that doesn't justify true or false. Thus, our jobs as architects at this point comes to frame the narrative and outcome enough to make it believable, so that it takes a position in the community and maintains its own statement. Chapter 7, Obsession. Obsession is the single most wasteful human activity. But with architectural work, an obsession to keep coming back to answer the questions is worth. Make it till it breaks, as everyone says. That's what helps us get interesting answers. Instead of letting ourselves and our ideas dry, this is a great time to step back and reiterate our intentions, whether that's the whole concept or elements of architecture. The last chapter, storyboarding. This is the time to storyboard our finalized short film or to sequence our architectural narrative. The stories in one of my projects holds the character as a protagonist, whereas in my other project, it's a sequence of how the architecture was informed and constructed.